Delta Force is back with another demo playtest for Steam Next Fest, and this time anyone can get into it. Its player count is currently trouncing the Battlefield player numbers, and especially now that EA has shown their hand with the upcoming Battlefield game, it seems like the competition is about to heat up. Let's dive into this new demo and talk about what the future of a free-to-play Battlefield-like experience means for the general gaming market. So if you're not caught up on what Delta Force is, it's basically an incredibly ambitious FPS that more or less is ripping its style right out of Battlefield from gameplay to UI, with some Tarkov and Call of Duty thrown in for good measure. It'll eventually have 3 distinct modes: a single player that is essentially a new take on the iconic Black Hawk Down book, movie, and the past games, an extraction mode that leans heavy on the Tarkov vibes, and a disturbingly too close for comfort copy of Battlefield 2042's multiplayer, giving it a genuine shot at capturing fans of the Battlefield franchise. And while there's going to undoubtedly be a ton of debate as to whether or not Delta Force or Battlefield is the superior game, I'd make an argument that today's sponsor has one of the best military combat games around. Today's video is sponsored by the king of vehicle combat games, War Thunder. I've spent so many hours dogfighting and tank dueling in this fantastic game, with over 2,500 vehicles to choose from, which is tanks, planes, helicopters, even battleships, all from different eras of conflict. There's pretty much something for everyone, and the game is amazingly free to play on both PC and console. Each vehicle is rendered at an insane level of detail, which isn't just cosmetic either. War Thunder features a pretty sophisticated damage system, with individual components taking damage and an X-ray mode showing the path of your projectile through enemy vehicles. There's 3 different ways to play the game: an arcade mode with enhanced vehicle stats and simplified physics, a simulation mode that makes the game feel extremely real, and then a realistic mode that balances those 2 experiences for a more approachable middle ground. Use my link below to get a massive bonus pack for new and returning players that haven't played for at least 6 months. It includes multiple premium vehicles and an exclusive weapon skin. Alright, back to Black Hawk Down. There's a new totally free and open demo on Steam, and while not much has changed from the previous alpha test aside from some new bug fixes, and now all the weapons are unlocked from the start so you can actually practice with them and see how you like the balance. And I gotta say, it was nice getting to try some of the higher level guns like the AWM sniper rifle and the PTR-32 assault rifle. Their stats looked very superior to the starting weapons in terms of their damage per shot and muzzle velocity. So I was worried that they would absolutely outclass those earlier unlocks, but for the most part they seemed fairly well balanced with some trade-offs and whatnot. Though I'm sure the higher level weapons will generally be preferable, they're just not trouncing the lower level guns. The time to kill in Delta Force does feel a little bit on the slower side compared to Battlefield, so you gotta stay on target for longer and prefer headshots to down enemies more quickly. But I still didn't really run into any players that were instantly deleting me or having a loadout that just felt like something I couldn't compete against. I did try playing with the vehicles a little bit more this time around. The attack helicopter is fun, but comparing it to the Battlefield controls, it's much more arcadey in Delta Force, and frankly, the gameplay dynamics just don't seem that well thought out. I kind of see what they're going for in terms of trying to make it a more accessible flying experience so that you don't have to have a pilot license to enjoy the vehicle, but it also kind of dumbs it down for anyone who enjoyed more of the nuance that you get from Battlefield. I also noticed that it didn't seem like any changes occurred to the footstep sounds or directional audio in the game, which was one of my top criticisms the first time playing. Seeing it persist into this demo makes me wonder if it's something that's even on their radar. I frequently got killed from behind or caught the sound of footsteps only to turn and not really be facing the correct direction. And I think the overall mastering of footstep audio versus gameplay audio should be kind of re-looked at this point. Now, Delta Force is set to launch in Q1 next year for PC and consoles. At launch, it seems like it's going to at least offer what's playable in the demo, which means 45 weapons, 9 vehicles, 12 gadgets, and likely a handful of additional maps. There was a supposed roadmap leak about a month ago, which indicated 3 major updates will roll out over 4 months following the game's launch, with each update offering a new operator. The second stage was going to have 2 new maps, a new co-op mode, and a new vendor. The third update would include another new map, a new gadget likely intended for mountain climbing, and potentially the release of the game's single-player Black Hawk Down experience. The devs haven't explicitly said that all 3 components of Delta Force would be playable at launch, and if this leak is anything to go by, I think we're gonna get the game rolled out in various stages. Now, of course, the extraction mode is another major attraction to Delta Force, being free to play and all. It'll be interesting to see how it stacks up, especially with so many extraction games on the market and still coming to the market in the near future. This one is definitely on the more casual side, which I think I can appreciate. Honestly, if you're going hardcore, you'd be going up against the best hardcore extraction shooters, which have already had years and years of updates and refinement, so that would be a tough market to break into. Going for the more casual route honestly might not be the worst decision ever, but it might also have a harder time of developing a long-term hardcore fan base. Now, of course, it's hard to talk about Delta Force without talking about Battlefield, which hasn't released a new game since 2021. And Delta Force is not only brand new, but it's also free to play. So I'm not surprised that its current numbers are just trouncing the Battlefield games that are on the market. But Delta Force is also very much copying Battlefield 2042's style and gameplay, and kind of a Tarkov-light experience that makes the game itself a little bit less exciting, since it's not bringing anything really new to the FPS experience. It's like if EA said that they were releasing a free-to-play version of Battlefield 2042, I don't know if I'd be jumping out of my seat over that news. And honestly, if we compare the gameplay experience between, say, 2042 and Delta Force, well, 2042 is gonna win, at least in my book. The game's had more time to cook, it's got way more content, it's got smoother movement, better vehicles, more interesting operators, better flowing game modes. I mean, the list is pretty extensive and it wins in just about every category. That said, it's not free like Delta Force, and it is hard to argue with free. However, and I've said this a bit on my weekly podcast with Matimio, I don't fully trust or even understand the Delta Force monetization plans. The developers, Team Jade, are a subsidiary of Tencent, and they've worked on games like Call of Duty Mobile, which of course have those mobile monetization practices. They've stated that their focus is player satisfaction when it comes to how the game's revenue system will be structured, but the devs of Arena Breakout Infinite, another Tencent studio, said pretty much the same thing pre-launch, only for the game to become incredibly pay-to-win when it released. Delta Force is clearly a very expensive game to develop. Even if they stole a lot of the style and design language from other games, they still had to make the game. And the campaign is allegedly going to be a AAA level experience made in Unreal Engine 5, and the trailers do seem to back up this claim, as they look quite good. But I also think the campaign might be sold as DLC, so again, the monetization model is up in the air. Even the multiplayer component being released as a free-to-play game without heavily incentivizing microtransactions seems unlikely, if not just simply irresponsible from a business standpoint. Basically, it feels like we're about to see a massive bait and switch, similar to what we saw with Arena Breakout Infinite, and frankly, we should be prepared for it. So far, my experience with the demos has been that it's a fun and amusing free-to-play title, but that's kind of the core draw to it, is the free factor, where otherwise it's not offering stuff over 2042 that I prefer. And that's not to say that Delta Force isn't going to work. It could become the go-to free-to-play title that handles a lot of different game modes that people enjoy, and it's very possible that they're holding back a wave of content for post-launch and to ramp all of that up once they kind of see how the launch situation shakes out. We do have a little bit longer to wait for that, and I gotta say, I am excited to play this game at launch and get into the progression and the mechanics and nuance. But I'd be curious to hear what you guys think of the demo now that it's open. Do you guys like it? Do you think it's gonna be your main title for a while, or do you see it as kind of a meh version of Battlefield 2042? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave me a like, subscribe for more content like it, and ding that notification bell to beat the YouTube algorithm with me. Again, thanks to War Thunder for sponsoring today's video. Don't miss out on this game. It's free, multi-platform, and using my link will get you a great bonus pack, including premium vehicles, an epic decorator, and more. Up next, check out a free-to-play FPS that seems to be doing it right. The Finals' latest update seems to have changed the narrative on breaking into the free-to-play casual competitive FPS. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.